The third contradiction in the testimonies is revealed to us by the window. If at 9:20 Jane sees the abductor with the child, and Kate, upon noticing that Madeleine has disappeared, notices that the window to the children's bedroom had been fully opened, why did Russell and Matt, who checked the apartments after 9:20, fail to see the open window? This is completely impossible. The window is proof of the truthfulness of the testimonies. If the little girl was abducted by the man that Jane says she saw at 9:20 p.m., then the window was open from that moment on. Matthew says that he was inside the apartment and didn't see the open window. This leads us to conclude that the window was only opened after the pseudo-abduction.
I have been in touch closely over the last few days with cabinet ministers here in Portugal, with the Prime Minister's office, and with the Portuguese police authorities.
Over 350 leads were followed.
We have a very strong sighting that Madeleine McCann was seen in Morocco 12 days ago.
The Polícia Judiciária says that the next few hours may bring new developments. Robert Murat is made an arguido after a long interrogation at the Polícia Judiciária in Portimão. A male individual, aged 33, and a resident in the area of the event, has been made an arguido. He was questioned as such, and no evidence has been collected that could justify his detention and further judicial questioning.
When I actually had a chat with him, he said that he admitted that he was just a local guy, that he spoke fluent Portuguese and English, and that he just volunteered to help the police with their investigation. I found him very fishy, and he was very chatty and trying to maybe emphasise some of the parts of the investigation, such as, oh, maybe she's gone to Spain, maybe it's too late, that sort of thing.
The journalist suspected him, but we didn't follow what the journalist said. We followed the analysis of the facts. The facts were analyzed, what actually had happened, and we followed a testimony that had to be weakened in order to advance the abduction theory, Jane Tanner's testimony, because otherwise the abduction theory died right there. The major foundation for the abduction was what that witness had seen, a man carrying a child walking into the direction of Robert Murat's house. Maybe people don't know, but the search at Robert Murat's house takes place on a Monday morning, and on Sunday evening we are in a meeting with the public ministry, with the prosecutor, with the judge, me and Dr. Luís Neves. We are at the courthouse while diligences are being carried out in Praia da Luz. Diligence to confirm the suspicion against Robert Murat, and Mrs. Jane Tanner is placed inside a police surveillance vehicle. Several people walk by, policemen, people that Mrs. Jane Tanner have never seen before, and Mr. Robert Murat among them, and she says that from the way he walks, he is the person that was carrying the child. In fact, Jane Tanner's memory progressively improves as time goes by. The first effect that she helps to draw is a vague sketch. She later makes a positive identification of Robert Murat as the man that she saw that night. Several months later, she participates in a new effect, now miraculously remembering every facial trace of a man that is very different from the Murat that she recognized earlier on. Another document that weighed in at incriminating Robert Murat was a psychological profile by English experts, which in very general traces stated that his voluntary attitude during the days that followed the crime, helping the investigators and the family, could be the mask of a criminal. These are either theoretical presuppositions or banalities. It's obvious that they start with statistical analysis. We could call them epidemiological, out of a population, numerous types of behaviors which could prompt the suspicion, a greater or smaller suspicion, on an individual, and nothing more. We are all very sad about what happened to Madeleine McCann. Please, if someone has any kind of information, let us know. Pray a special prayer. Pray at least one Hail Mary all over the country for Our Lady of Fatima to enlighten our authorities so they can find that little girl.
Tomorrow, we want to visit the shrine at Fatima to pray for Madeline's return to us.
On Sunday, we had another offer of more than £1 million from a group. So it included J.K. Rowling, who wrote all the Harry Potter books. It included Wayne Rooney, who's one of our most famous footballers. I think it included Richard Branson as well.
Time went by. The abduction leads led into a blind alley. The family itself started considering the possibility that Maddie was dead. The first signs of death come from the family, exterior signs. We had already considered it, but it's the family that hires a former officer from the South African military who uses a miraculous machine to find the child's body on location. South African Daniel Krugel points at a location where Madeleine McCann's body is supposed to lie, a vast area where nothing was found. The investigation uses two very special dogs that are used by the English and North American police that have successfully solved over 200 cases. These include the murder of Attracta Heron, an Irish woman who went missing. The police and the forensic scientists were unsuccessful in finding out what happened to her. The investigators then brought in Eddie, one of the two dogs that were in Portugal, that identified a carbonized piece in the suspect's car. That piece contained DNA from the missing woman. The dogs that were brought in to help the investigation are great investigators. Eddie is a dog that specializes in finding dead victims and marking locations where dead people have been. Killa is able to detect human blood in such tiny amounts that they elude the investigators. In these police images, we can see Eddie and Killa inspecting the houses where the 9 British tourists stayed, and Robert Murat's house. The dogs only reacted in the apartment where the McCann stayed. Eddie marked the cadaver odor in the wardrobe of the McCann's bedroom. That was how it was. The dog that marks human cadaver odor marked cadaver odor in this corner. The doors were open when the test was made, and after walking around the parents' bedroom, he placed his nose in here and marked this area. So, according to the experts, a cadaver was here, either on the shelf or on the floor. Eddie also detected the odor of death behind the sofa in the apartment's living room. Killa is brought in, and she points out a small amount of blood behind that same sofa. At the time when the area behind the sofa was cleaned, there is a body being transported to this location, or it was kept here for a while. That is the indication that exists. There was no blood here, contrary to what was found behind the sofa, and there is the marking that a cadaver was here.